My dad, on the other hand, he could sit down and study for like 3 hours on a foreign language and just work it. He has an ability to focus on things that he doesn't immediately find exciting. That's an ability. That is something he has trained and cultivated to be able to do. I don't have the same ability.
Rishi, I'm going to be honest with you. Your father's just a better person. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome.
This is episode 7, I believe.
No, 8.
Oh my god,
I checked.
I'm getting jumbled here.
Oh no, I checked. I was writing up my notes and I was like, wait, is this 7 or 8? And I had to look back.
Wow, that's when you know we've got a good chunk of episodes behind us. We're officially, I think we could officially say we're podcasters. I didn't say we're good podcasters. You could say we're podcasters, right?
Fair enough. I think we could say that.
Good middle ground there.
Yeah. So today's episode is about streaming, and particularly like streaming services and what that changes in both the medium and where it's going from here.
Yeah, I got a few things I know you really want to talk about. Same here, and I think we'll disagree on something.
Okay.
We'll get to that, but first a quick starter off about streaming. I think obviously the biggest streaming service is Netflix.
Yeah.
You have them with 200 and something, 222 million subscribers as of 2022 so far. Do you know the next runner-ups to that?
I'd imagine Hulu is up there.
Hulu is number 5. Hulu's 5 with 44 million.
What about Amazon? Because everyone has like an Amazon.
They're number 2.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And it's not just because of the streaming service. It's because they have a Amazon Prime account.
However,
and it comes with streaming.
However, they are second in. You can track how many people watch something on Amazon Prime.
Okay,
so they're second, even if you just look at people that use Prime. They're at 175 million, so pretty close. Okay. And number 3, you can get number 3.
Disney?
Yeah, Disney Plus. They've got all the Marvel shows on there. So,
Hey, that's like those 3 get you quite a bit and get you more than cable.
Yeah. And which I don't think I'll ever have cable in my life.
No, I mean most people our age and younger, and even people older than us, never going to go back to cable.
No.
However, streaming services are slowly becoming more like cable.
Yep.
Where things are more and more becoming like you see like Disney pulling their Marvel shows from Netflix and putting it on their service. And you just see so many of these platforms taking from Netflix and just making it their own. So all these companies have their own streaming services. It's becoming a little bit more like cable, which is not good.
No, but there's no commercials. So
yeah.
Do you think if you could have just one of them, like what do you think is the most valuable streaming service? Gets you the biggest bang for your buck and the most shows of high quality?
I'd say Hulu.
Really? What shows
not
are on
Hulu? Sorry. HBO.
HBO. That's a good pick.
Because I don't think there's as much content, but I think it has quality.
Surprisingly, they have less subscribers than Hulu. Barely, but I didn't know that Hulu was as big as them.
Yeah, I think them, then Prime, then Netflix.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I barely use Netflix at all. Like maybe there's 2 shows a year.
There's The Witcher.
Yeah,
Stranger Things.
Yeah, honestly, Stranger Things, I could take it or leave it at this point. Like, super hyped for season 2, and I just get less and less hyped for every season.
It makes you feel old, doesn't it?
How so?
You see the kids aging just every time you see a new season. Yeah. It's like, wow. I saw in 2016, they were like 10 years old, weren't they? Like 10 and 11, yeah. But with streaming services, what I think HBO does best, I'm going to be biased, but I want to see what you think on this. What do you think the best way for a streaming service to release content is? Week-to-week basis or all at once?
I think it's week to week. And there's something to be said. It depends on what they want. I mean, if it's a show you want people to talk about, you want there to be weekly conversations, you want there to be theories going out, you need to do week to week.
Absolutely.
When it's kind of like when The Witcher dropped all at once.
Yeah.
People talked about it like the first 2 weeks and then gone.
Right.
No one talks about it anymore. at the very least, with stuff like The Wheel of Time, even though it wasn't, the quality of the show at least is debated, but every week people were talking about it before it came out. And so people were talking about it for much longer, which I think is good. And it made it far more fun to talk to others about it.
That's what I absolutely loved about Game of Thrones until it turned south. But Game of Thrones, week to week, it's all you talked about. It's what made the show. You had such anticipation. And in that week between episodes, you'd look up reaction videos to the Red Wedding and theories about the next episode coming up. And it was just such more of a cultural phenom because of that.
Yeah, the best one, I think, and I remember it really well from my childhood, was Lost. Because I watched Lost with my family when it was live on air.
Yeah.
And man, even as a younger kid, like I would talk to other people about it. Like even I could talk to like some adults about it. And just every week we go, oh, you watch Lost, and like, oh, what's gonna happen? And you theorize about what the mystery of the island. And because it was such a long running show, it had a lot of episodes per season.
Yep.
It was something you can't miss an episode, so like you blocked out time.
Right.
Of the week when it came on, like whatever, Thursday or something when it was on. It was it was far more of a cultural event and important because you miss it, you missed it all well, unless you have a TiVo.
And there's something about being on the same page, because if you have a show just come out with everything at once, people are like, oh, I watched up to episode 4. Oh, I watched up to 2. You can get spoiled very easily. If everything drops on day 1 and you're like, oh, I can't watch all the episodes it's going to take me a couple weeks, can get some spoilers, so it prevents that. But then again, there's binge watching, such a huge thing.
That's honestly, I think that's the biggest difference that streaming really has offered. The fact they just drop a whole season of TV and like you can just binge right through it.
Yep.
And there are 2 different types of streaming exclusive TV shows that you see. You see the ones that are far more episodic, like a standard television show. But things like Stranger Things and arguably The Wheel of Time. There's a couple other shows like it where it's kind of 8 episodes where it's just a long movie. Like it's not a TV show. It's not like episodic. They blend together very fluidly to the point where it's a full 8-hour story.
Yep.
Instead. And I think that definitely has some changes.
It does. And I'd say as successful as something like Squid Game was.
Yeah.
Massive success. Over 100 million people watched it on Netflix. Cultural icon already. Just became huge. I think they're making a 2nd season soon.
Yeah. That
show, if they did it week to week, I argue that it would have been even bigger and a bigger cultural phenom. As big as it was.
I think so.
As big as it was. Imagine that week to week, a different game each week. It being talked about and hyped up and, oh, what's the next one? Who's going to survive all the theories? I guarantee you they would have had more success, as hard as that is to imagine because it was so successful. Mm-hmm. But I would have loved to see everyone on the same page watching the episode that week, digesting it, going into the next game the following week, digesting it. Like there's something so much more cool about that, because when all the episodes are up, let's be honest, we can't really control ourselves.
Yeah.
We kind of like, it's all up there. Oh, might as well click the next episode. Next one's up there. Like, well, if it's there, you want to digest the content so you're up to date with what everybody else is talking about. You don't want to be out of the loop. It's all there. So,
well, also I know for me on Squid Game, it's a weird thing of we're willing to dedicate, like, what are we willing to give to a show? So, like, when I see oh, am I going to watch a movie or TV show? I mean, like, I have an hour. I'll watch an episode.
Yeah.
Where I don't really have 2.5 hours. But the funny thing it works into is when you watch a TV show and the next episode's right there, I may be at the beginning not willing to watch a 2.5 hour movie, but willing to watch an episode of a show. But I'll end up watching 4 or 5 episodes in a row, meaning I've watched 5 hours.
You just gave the exact brand of TikTok. That's what TikTok is. It's just a 10, 30-minute video. That's all it is. 10, 30 seconds, minute video. That's it. And then you're scrolling for 2 hours.
Yeah, and that has a certain change. I think it's had a negative impact on my life in general. And that mainly is like, including YouTube, the internet, memes, like that whole pattern of addiction, basically just, oh, it's just one more, just one more, just one more, it's really negatively affected my attention span, personally.
This is a topic I want to really talk about, attention spans and what has happened. So what are your thoughts? Has streaming and has technology decreased our attention spans?
I think so. In the beginning, like on the surface, it sounds like a great deal. And like a streaming service, hey, it's Netflix. I can watch the whole movie at home. I can watch the whole television show at home. I just, bam, click it, it's there, instant. I get exactly what I want, anytime, anywhere. But what ends up actually happening? That's not like how most people actually use Netflix. They don't sit down to watch this show. That's very rarely what happens. Is you sit down and you scroll for like 30 minutes to an hour just trying to figure out what to watch. And then you just are trying to fill the void of like, just watch something. Where with Blockbuster, like I remember thinking, like in the drive over, getting my parents to drive me to Blockbuster, and I'm thinking about, I want to watch this movie. And I can't, and my parents at least, and you're not going to rent all the movies. You're going to rent 2, maybe 3. So that's what you get for the whatever week.
Yep.
So you have to pick, and then you pick it, and that's what you have. There's not many options. So when you're home, you have 3 things to watch, and you watch them. And there's something about you are actively going out and you are picking that movie. And then you had to think about it. And then when you get home, you watch just that movie. And I think in the long run, that's a far more satisfying experience. Though I'm not sure. There are benefits to both, but I remember those shows far more.
But do you say people our age, would you say that we have smaller attention spans
than
previously?
I don't even think
this
that's
is where the
controversial
this is where
opinion.
the conversation is going to get interesting. I think I disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's why. I went into this podcast looking into this a little bit, and shocker, we actually do a little prep, like tiny bit. Like I'd say we at least do 2 minutes beforehand, furiously typing.
No.
That's it.
No, I think about it through the week.
Yeah, same. So I was like, oh yeah, obviously we have smaller attention spans, obviously, right? And so, like the New York Times, Time Magazine, USA Today, there's this big article that's shared everywhere where it's humans have a smaller attention span than goldfish, is the article title. Because it's based on some study where we apparently have 8-second attention spans, goldfish have 9. And apparently ours has decreased from 12 to 8 over the past decade or 2 or whatever. You look into it more, there's some problem with the study. It's like, it depends what you're focusing on to your attention span. Anyways, it's a little murky. A lot of it, too, ADHD is diagnosed at a much more rapid rate today. So I think there's a lot of this in our head of, oh, our attention spans are smaller. We have technology that just, we're quick. We're quick at dopamine rushed. What's the next thing? That type of idea. The reason I disagree with it is that's why I was thinking about that, digesting it and going, okay, we're talking on a podcast right now, right?
Yeah.
Podcasts are massive. Joe Rogan has 3, 4, 5 hour long podcasts sometimes. And the top grossing movies of all time, Endgame is a 3-hour movie. You have Lord of the Rings, 3-hour movies in chunks. Now, these are complete anecdotes to bring one-offs of really long-form content. But what I think technology has done, it hasn't shortened our attention spans. It has increased the luxury of time efficiency. And here's what I mean by that. Uber Eats.
Yeah.
Uber Eats, you could very well go drive to a restaurant or drive to a fast food place, pick up the food, and go eat it at home or go eat it there. That was the only option we had like 10 years ago. You had to do it. No other choice. I mean, you couldn't just, okay, there's pizza places. You get what I mean? Today, now we're looking for the quickest, what's the most time efficient. Like the luxury of just being able to go on your phone and order it is quick and it comes to you. I don't think that's us having a smaller attention span. I think that's us using our ability to, okay, I want to spend my time doing something else. Just like in streaming. I don't want to watch commercials. Like that wastes my time. I'd rather, when I watch a show, I just want to watch the show start to finish. Or TikTok, another example. That stuff's really quick. Boom, 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 boom. But we're not sitting there for one video. The content has gotten so good to catch our attention that we're sitting there for hours on end staring at. We're gaming all day. We're watching TikTok all day. I'd say that it's the opposite. Like, technology has gotten incredibly good at capturing our attention and keeping it for long periods of time.
See, that's where I disagree with you. It's a difference between the content and the medium. I think content is not as eye-catching. It's that it's a novelty. In general, like when it comes to a lot of different things, novelty is very much anytime you change it's kind of like when you see something new, it's more interesting immediately, and it grabs your attention.
Sure.
Rather than a 30-minute video, your attention and your interest go down as long throughout the 30-minute video. If you look at, now we know, YouTube algorithm, and we look at the back end of videos, people will click at the beginning, and then they slowly drop off. When something like it's like 30 seconds, you can grab their attention, and before they have a chance to get disinterested, next one. And it's that novelty. Honestly, it's a cycle of addiction. So don't really want to get into the more lewd aspect of addiction, but the drug side of it. Novelty is the reason why drugs can be addictive and get worse is because you are doing something new to reach a higher high, and it's a cycle. So I think that's what streaming has given us, is because there's no physical barrier of the delay of gratification. We're constantly offered something new, and you keep seeking it. So you may say, "Oh, I don't want to waste my time," but you wasted actually more time.
Yeah, wouldn't that be though? You're wasting more time than you intended. Is that your attention's grabbed longer than you thought it would be? I mean, it's gotten so good at that.
But do you watch? So by attention span, can you sit and watch a full hour-long lecture?
Yeah. So personally, yes.
Sure, but I mean, there's a difference with podcasts where often people don't sit and watch the full podcast and do nothing but that. There's a difference between that type of thing and one thing holding your complete attention for a longer period of time, or constantly switching to different things rapidly. And so during an hour, you have an hour's worth of time. You've sat and watched, you're on the computer for an hour.
Yep.
In one scenario, you're watching an hour-long lecture about something. And you're focusing on just that the entire time.
Right.
Versus you sat for an hour and you watched 30-second videos for an hour. I would say that person has less attention span. It's the kind of thing with reading.
Okay.
Reading, you need to have a certain degree of focused attention because there's not flashing colors to just keep you interested. It's something you can't just watch for 10 minutes and be done. You have to sit there for hours and read. That's I think that's just a different story.
I see what you're saying.
Can one thing hold your attention for long enough, or do you not have the ability to focus on one thing for a certain duration of time? I would know for myself, I don't think I do.
I think part of it is I don't think the technology has changed our attention span. I think humans have stayed the same. Like, I don't think we've evolved suddenly in the past 20, 30 years to have these shorter attention spans. I just think the mediums in which our attention's grabbed is they just do a better job at doing it.
I think the technology has exploited our own mental operation.
Yeah. I got
you. That's always been there.
Yep.
It's kind of like how it's not like people are fatter. That's not a system of like, oh, we've just evolved to like we process food differently. No.
There's a surplus of food.
There's a surplus of food. Like, the food is different. It's more addictive, and there's plenty of it. There used to be barriers of entry to getting fat. It was hard to get fat before because there's not enough food. It was hard to, honestly, like attention span. Like, there's only so many books. Like my mother, when she didn't have option of TV, I guess she had radio. Like, she had a bit of TV, but only a little bit, news and something else.
Which podcasts I think are taking over radio.
Yeah. And then books for her. A very small library in small town, New Mexico. She read as much as she could because it's all she had.
Right.
There's no other option. So when you have no other option, I think if you only have the one book, then for me, like, I literally can't switch. I have to focus on it because there's nothing else. Where with the internet and TikTok and YouTube Shorts and all these other things.
Oh, yeah, I get you.
Plenty of options. Mm-hmm. And I get to indulge my low impulse control.
Sure. But
and
would you say...
keep indulging in that, it gets harder and harder to resist it.
No, we're in agreement there. The stuff is addicting. Mm-hmm. And it's eye-catching. It'll grab your attention. So I'll give you this thought to give you my thought process here. Mm-hmm. For example, would we say that before planes were invented, someone driving in a car 12 hours to go somewhere rather than flying wasn't an option. You were forced to drive 12 hours.
Yeah.
Then flying was created. Airplanes exist. Shout out to the Wright brothers. So then you're flying to that location instead of driving. It's quicker. The act of it's quicker. The technology has gotten better. Does that make your attention shorter? And likewise, I'll show you where I'm going here. Likewise, let's say teleportation was created overnight. You could teleport. The flight industry, the airlines would be shut down completely because you could just teleport and then you'd be everywhere. So what I'm saying here is this. You used Blockbuster as an example. The fact that we don't use Blockbuster is pretty obvious. Like, why go out of your way, drive somewhere, pick up a movie, drive back, watch the movie, drive over, return it, rather than just click on the movie? It's just more efficient for your time. I think you can still watch that movie from Blockbuster or you could watch it at home. The reason Blockbusters don't exist, it's not that our attention span has gotten shorter. This is what I'm saying. This is my belief here. I don't think our attention span's gotten shorter. I just think we've gotten the luxury of technology that allows us to be more efficient with what we do with our time. And where I think where we have common ground here is, yes, the mediums that were being brought, whether it's TikTok or whether they're watching To Ramble because it's so addictive, they have to watch us, right? Yeah, it's gotten, the algorithms have gotten insane. The ways to grab your attention have gotten insane. But does that make sense? Am I off base somewhere? Tell me where you want.
I think the difference is, I don't think human beings have changed, but because of the new and different stimuli, we are acting differently. It's not that we personally have changed. Like, you give a person 100 years, from 100 years ago, the exact same stimulus we have today, I think they didn't react the same way that we do, but they didn't have it.
Yep.
So that's the difference. We have not changed, but I've noticed in middle school, I didn't really have a smartphone. I didn't have a computer. I didn't have a smartphone till end of high school. Really?
Wow. Yeah.
And
honestly, I think I got mine like beginning of high school.
And I didn't have a internet capable device until high school. I didn't have a computer till then. So all throughout middle school, I had books. That's what I had, and I watched Saturday morning cartoons. Mm-hmm. And I only watched cartoons on Saturday because they were only there. Right. So when I went to do something, I made a decision to go do something. I'm going to go out do this. I'm going to go out do this. I couldn't just sit in the couch and do anything. I had limited options. With books, I could sit and read for hours on end on one thing, and time would fly by. I'm like, And then after I got an iPod Touch, Classic and all that, and I had YouTube, I could barely read for 15 minutes straight without like putting it down and looking at YouTube or looking at something else on trying to go to the internet.
Right, but get this. Like, give that phone to a kid from 1970 that's also reading, the same thing happens.
No, that's what I agree.
That's why I don't think our attention spans have gotten shorter.
No, the main thing is that kind of thing is, it used to be the discipline, I guess, is maybe our attention span and discipline.
Discipline, that's a topic to talk about, yeah.
Before, it didn't need to be trained because there was no other option. Mm-hmm. Now, because there are options, it needs to be cultivated and trained. Where, examples for reading, when I first started reading at work, I could maybe read 15, 20 minutes, and then I just couldn't, my eyes couldn't stay focused on the page anymore. Okay. I had to do something else. And because I've been training for several years now, I haven't had to focus on one thing for that long.
I get you.
And over time, I've developed more of an attention span. I can focus on something for longer, but that had to be cultivated now.
Okay.
Before, you didn't have... That's my point, is...
That's fair.
If you indulge in this low impulse control for long enough, you just don't have as much control anymore. We're focusing on one thing.
Correct.
And so, yes, our bodies and our physiology hasn't changed, but our situation has.
Yeah, but like... Okay, maybe I'm going to repeat this. Maybe I said this already, but in other words, so it maybe makes more sense. But the fact that maybe it's grabbing our attention to the wrong things, right? Like maybe reading is harder because TikTok watching for 3 hours is so much more dopamine rushing and it's more addictive.
See, this is, I think, our disagreement.
Okay, let's see.
I think there's a difference between something grabbing and holding your attention for a long period of time, one thing, rather than constantly re-grabbing your attention with new stimuli.
Okay.
There's a difference of watching TikTok for 2 hours where you just watched 500-something videos that constantly new thing, versus watching one thing for a long period. So having to repeatedly grab your attention, I think that is a sign of low attention span.
But what about everything today, like with podcasts and long movies and long form? There's still a lot of long form things. Joe Rogan is the biggest media, not just podcast, but he's the largest media personality in the world, I'd say. And his entire shtick is he has 3-4 hour conversations with people.
I don't think that invalidates it, because I would question how many people actually sit and watch Joe Rogan and do nothing else. They just watch the video, all of it. I don't think many people do.
All right, time efficiency. You put your headphones on, you listen to them while you're working out.
You're working out, you're doing something that you're multitasking. You're not focused on it all at once. That's very different from, again, I still think books is like that. It is, physically reading a book is the bar standard of you literally can't do anything else. There's no other multitasking. There's no flashing lights to like just quickly grab your attention and move your eyes about. Your eyes, your mind just totally focus on one thing for an extended period of time.
Okay, so you would
there's
say...
a difference between that and flashing lights constantly grabbing your attention and a new thing. And that's my point.
Okay, so you would say today we have lower attention span because of the technology that's available.
Yeah, it's different stimuli. And it's far more addictive. In many ways, it's better. Like it's flashier, it's bigger, it's more exciting. Like, yeah, of course.
Right. Okay, I'll pose this conversation is interesting. We're going on for a while about this.
I'm looking at my notes and just going like, we're not even touching anything.
No, get to that. But here's another thing to propose, right? So what's the difference between TikTok flashing a 30-second video or YouTube giving you a 10-minute video, a 5-minute video, 10-minute video, and a book, a chapter ending, and a cliffhanger? I think they're just different forms of stimuli, right? You have everything has to keep your attention a certain way. A book is kind of just like a show in page form or a movie in page form. TikTok's really quick, so that it's a good example to bring up. But everything that we do, everything that we interact with, the whole point is what the first sentence of a book is always the most important. Every author will tell you that because my favorite first line ever is from Percy Jackson. Like, I never knew it. I'm forgetting now. Something about being a half-blood. But that first line is so important because we're promising you a great story, and we're going to promise a payoff. That's why you keep reading, and we're going to keep your attention. Oh, look, your teacher just turned into a monster. I need to read more. Oh, my God.
Yes, but there's an ability to be able to read something that is not immediately attention-grabbing, but to sit down and focus on one thing, even if it isn't bang, bang. It's not immediately attention-grabbing. To be able to focus on something long enough, even if it isn't super exciting in the moment.
Okay.
That's an ability to, like, I don't have a very strong ability to sit down and study. Like, focus on something that is not particularly interesting. My dad, on the other hand, he could sit down and study for like 3 hours on a foreign language and just work it. He has an ability to focus on things that he doesn't immediately find exciting That's an ability. That is something he has trained and cultivated to be able to do. I don't have the same ability.
Rishi, I'm gonna be honest with you. Your father's just a better person.
That's fair.
It's that simple.
I agree with it. I wish I had.
Has nothing to do with his attention span. He's just a better human being. But, okay.
But now I would say
you.
I have a degree of that. I've
Yeah.
read books that have not been super captivating, yet I can still read it. That I don't get. My tolerance for boredom is far higher, I guess, where I'm willing to give an hour to reading a book where before I would quit 5 minutes in.
Right.
Oh, in 5 minutes it didn't like immediately hold my attention and I just let it go. Where now I can go an hour. Even if it's not great, I can still read. I can make myself read for an hour without dropping it. Because I just can't read because my eyes would hurt. I just literally can't get myself to read after 15 minutes before.
Right.
Where now I could read for an hour, 2, even if it's not super interesting, I can make myself do it.
Okay.
Much easier now than before.
Got it.
And I apply that standard to TikTok and YouTube where in those situations, I don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
That's why in my job, I'm forced to. And being forced helped me develop that and resist that temptation of switching.
Well, like I said, going in before this, we picked the podcast topic. Mm-hmm. I also thought, like, yeah, of course our attention spans got shorter. Mm-hmm. I thought that was interesting as I looked into it a bit because of that study that popped up and whatnot. But I want to see what people think. If you want to comment down, because this was an interesting topic to go off.
Yeah. How long have we been running? Just so
30-ish minutes. We still got more time.
Okay, I just wanted
to switch subject to something else because they're probably getting bored. So.
Well, there's something about streaming that has taken away the event aspect of movies and TV shows that I miss.
The event aspect.
Well, for a big movie, before streaming, and there's a movie, like to go to a movie theater, you have to buy the tickets, you have to prepare ahead of time. You go out there, there's other people. It's an event.
Yeah.
It's there's something special about that. And
certainly, yeah.
You enjoy a little bit of it. And yes, it's easier to just watch the movie at home. But there's something special, I think, about making it an event and other people have seen it. And everyone sees it opening day, and there's a communal aspect to that where, oh yeah, that movie came out on Netflix like 2 months ago. Well, I was watching something else, and there's such a volume of other content. Like, I don't think there's as many shows that like everyone has watched. Because there's a huge volume of content, which means like not everybody can watch the same thing. With movies and TV shows, like live TV, there's only a set amount of hours in a day for you to watch. So there's a cap to the amount of TV shows on TV on air.
Yep.
Streaming, there's unlimited, as many as they can produce.
Right.
Movies, they only release so many movies in a year. So that means they have to pick. You have to curate that a little bit. With streaming, that cap is gone. Could be a good thing. Like that, there's a positive aspect to that.
I'd say so. There are outliers like Squid Game, Stranger Things, and like some
used to be Game of Thrones, but that's also TV.
There are certain shows that will exceed and just be the culture for that time. Like like for example, Bridgerton. I haven't seen it, but it's everywhere.
What's that?
See what I mean?
I have no idea.
It's not. I guess it hasn't hit our radar completely, but it's just a massive show. I think it's reaching top 5 in Netflix. It's crazy how well it's doing. So we should give it a shot. But,
yeah.
So it's very there's these phenoms like Squid Game and so forth, but pre-streaming you had shows like MASH. You had shows like
I loved MASH. That was fun.
Seinfeld, which but the viewership on those, like you just don't see that again, where everyone's sitting not Squid Game, we're watching at different times. Like I'm watching on Tuesday, you're hearing about it on Friday, you watching that. No, everyone's watching that episode live. There's 90 million people watching. It's like a Super Bowl game. Yeah. It's a very different feel than watching it anytime you want.
Yeah, and there's also something I did want to get into a little bit before we head out, but
yeah.
there's a difference between a television show, like a more episodic television show, and what something like Squid Games or Stranger Things is, or what a show would be called bingeable, quote unquote. Like Stranger Things is bingeable, and that's because it's normally describes a television show that all the episodes are out and it's more of a one flowing story. That it's basically an 8-hour movie that's broken up into 8 chunks.
Pretty much.
Where Seinfeld is episodic.
Yep.
It's not like a
It's
one
a sitcom,
continuous story. And even shows like MASH, which it's not, episodic in the sense, things do happen and things do change. Or Breaking Bad. It's kind of in between that kind of episodic and just a big long movie. Like yes, things do change and things do grow and all that, but there are set episodes. And there's kind of like an arc and payoff in each episode. A bingeable one, they don't often have like a full arc in each episode. It's more just a slice of a longer form of content. There's some good stuff to that, but also some negatives. It's good because more time, you could fit more interesting stuff into it. But also it means there often is fluff. There's stuff that, you could have cut this down. This didn't need to be that long.
Yeah.
Often those kind of shows have a different director every episode, so they have like multiple directors, so each episode feels a little different.
Yep.
And instead of like a movie where it's a continuous feel because it's one director, I'm not sure that it's necessarily better or worse. It really does depend on the content.
Very much so.
Whatever you're trying to, like, especially for adaptations of something else, like, I think one of the best things for bingeable streaming content is mystery stories. I think just a really long mystery.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? Yeah.
Well, I think like Broadchurch. Broadchurch is...
we were on different pages there. Those are
a little different.
Those are 2 different shows, yeah.
But I think it really lends to that medium a lot more than a movie, where, within 2 hours the conflict is solved. It's like, oh, okay. We're 8 hours and like slowly picking up the clues. I think it lends to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I get you. And what do you think? I mean, obviously streaming is, talking about bingeable, it's addictive. It's kind of sign of the times of, it's hard to resist just finishing a show.
Oh yeah,
it's very difficult. A show that you enjoy.
Yeah, in many ways, our whole world in almost every aspect is you have to cultivate this discipline. It's hard to eat healthy. It's hard to, manage your time well because there's so much to do. Like, there's so many options that our struggle is resisting.
Yeah.
Everything. We're not even 50 years ago or 100 years ago. You have to work hard you have to work hard for your food. You have to work hard for your entertainment. There's not much to entertain you. You have to work for it.
Right.
And you're pursuing you're pursuing food. You're pursuing books. You had to actually hunt for it. You had to actually...
Discipline. And it's not just discipline, it's self-discipline.
Yeah.
Which is the difference between this podcast, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It needs 2 people. Because what keeps me accountable is like, oh, Richie needs to, I need to record with Richie. Oh,
yeah.
All right, the podcast coming with Richie. Like when you have an outside party that, you're responsible for each other to get something done.
Mm-hmm.
Team projects. It's like, you have to get this project done by this time. They're relying on me rather than I don't have to eat healthy. It's, it's just me. I mean, I'll eat healthy later or I'll do this later.
Well, it's like it's easy to be healthy when there's not much food available. It's easy to not waste your time when there's only the news and like a movie. And like there's not much to watch on television. You're not going to waste a lot of time because there's not much available. Books. Oh, you're so well read. It's like, yeah, that's literally all there was to do. Like,
I mean, look at our parents, or not even parents, grandparents' generation, to where they didn't grow up with technology. They kind of look at kids like, oh, always on their phones. Who's on Facebook scrolling for 2 hours now?
Yeah,
it's our parents' generation. I mean, the technology doesn't just, it's not just a Gen Z and millennial thing.
Oh no, human beings haven't changed. It's the world around us. And I know for me, it's definitely helped a lot of focusing on that. Like, not even a year ago, I just kind of give in to whatever I want to do. And I know for me, I felt kind of empty. Like, I didn't feel good the way I've been living my life for like past several years. And it's been only recently where I've tried to focus on self-discipline, and it's been very rewarding, just mentally. And
long-term goals and that focusing on yourself long-term is always a bigger dopamine rush than that immediacy.
Well, it's one of the biggest lies that I've heard told so often is like, hey, if it feels good, do it.
No, hedonism is not the way.
No, that's one of the biggest lies ever told to the people our age. And I know there'll be people saying like, oh, that no one tells that. I mean, it's kind of that was my thought process. That's how I thought of things. Like, hey, I like doing it. Why shouldn't I do it? I enjoy it. There are other consequences longer term for just giving in to your desires.
Yep.
Whether it be TV, drugs, casual sex, like porn, whatever it may be. Like, there's a variety of things, and to different degrees, it hurts you in the long term or not. But
I'm just thinking of the poor soul that clicked on this video, going, "Oh, nice little streaming conversation." Yeah, they skipped to this part, pornography. What? What is it?
Yeah, this has gone off a more.
We'll have more talks like this.
This is why
future,
it's To Ramble.
Yeah, exactly.
We're rambling about started off with streaming services and then we end up at porn.
And I will say this: hey, if you guys stuck around to the end, it seems like we held your attention and you proved Richie wrong. So congratulations to you. See,
prove me wrong. What was it? Comment. Yellow submarine. If you actually got it to the end and proved me wrong,
yes,
it kept your attention.
That's smart. And hey, we did say this before, but turn that notification bell on. Do some things. Like, we should be more proactive, shouldn't we?
We've become like the people I hate and annoyed at.
By everybody. I think we should
hit the like button, comment below, hit the notification bell, and all the other things that involve algorithmic, and so we can take more of your time in the day.
Stream us, not Netflix.
Watch us 3 times a day. Just keep binging us. Waste your time watching us. That's the best thing.
We are hypocrites. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.